Yep.
Oh,
Left it.
Okay.
He went home. Is that-
Now I forget. It is.
They're gonna say girl. I'm like, man.
On?
Just gonna make sure that there's no.
You don't know the name of town?
I don't know. He might have told me at one point, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I know he lives right by the airport.
By the Detroit airport?
You
Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay, on the south side.
And, they were
Muted it, yes.
hours.
better go stop penis over there, bro.
Yes,
All right, y'all ready?
Left
Are we recording, Bill?
Wednesday.
You got Ben?
Oh, no, let me look.
Hopping on mine.
You sent me a picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you a second.
His parents are coming back next month, or coming here next month, so they're gonna do whatever they do to it and.
Still waiting. All right, well, we're gonna call to order the November 19th Centerson Planning Commission. We're gonna start with a roll call.
Brandon Swoboda,
Here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
Here.
Craig Langford, Jerry Harris,
Here.
and Lewis.
He's trying to log in. I think we're.
it's not there
waiting
yet.
on him.
Continue, Robert Sessoms,
Here.
Tony Davis, Jeff Safer.
Thank you. The first item up is the approval of the minutes from November 5th of 24. There's no comments. I'd entertain a motion on that.
John, a motion to approve the minutes from. 24.
Second.
November 5th.
All right, we got a motion-ish and a second. Thank you.
Those are the minutes from 11:05.
11:05.
Correct.
I was trying to hurry up and get to the page.
Next item we have here is the ratification of the admin approvals. Looks like we had a pet care service and office and a consulting office. Any comments on these? If not, let's get a motion.
Motion approved ratification of administrative approvals.
Second. All right, we're gonna move into no old business, so we're gonna move into new business. It'd be item A. And this is a conditional use for 2414 Silver Leaf Clubhouse at 300 Hedge Drive. Zoned R3, single family is 0.61 acres. Is the owner applicant here? Come up and tell us a bit about what you're asking for.
Dustin Higgins with Half. This is a conditional use permit for a clubhouse in the Silverleaf subdivision. It's within phase 2. That final plat was brought forward, I believe, about 3 weeks ago now. Anyway, the clubhouse is 3,333 square feet on lot 157 of the Silverleaf Estates subdivision. It's proposed to have a swimming pool, privacy fence around, or security fence around the pool, landscaping, perimeter screening, full parking spaces, and amenities within and out.
All right, thank you. Staff, who's got this one?
I do.
All right,
So as he said, the applicant is proposing to develop a 3,333 square foot clubhouse on lot 157 of the Silverleaf Estates. Which was phase 2. Silverleaf subdivision has 203 single family lots. They're proposing a pool area with security fence around the entire pool, a playground, and 12 parking spaces. The facility is intended to be used by the residents and guests of Silverleaf Estate subdivision and has an occupancy limit of 155 people. The use of country club / clubhouse private is conditionally allowed in R3 SF medium density residential zoning. There is a concurrent large-scale development application for the design of the clubhouse that will need to be approved by the planning commission in the future if the conditional use is approved. The zoning information for that zoning is listed in the packet for you. It's R3SF. The property is surrounded by R3SF since it's smack dab in the Silverleaf subdivision. The adjacent properties to the northwest is zoned I1 light industrial and C2 highway commercial. The adjacent property to the north is zoned A1 and it's currently being used as residential. For streets, the property can be accessed off of Drive or Jensen, both of which are local roads within the subdivision with the standard 50-foot right-of-way and 5-foot sidewalks. The sidewalk for the clubhouse was installed with the final plat of Silverleaf Phase 2. For utilities, the clubhouse will connect to Centerton Water and Sewer via lines located in the subdivision. For parking, previous clubhouses built within the city, such as the Diamond Estates Clubhouse, which was built in 2017, and the Maple Estates Clubhouse, which was built in 2018, were required to provide a parking ratio of 1 space per 300 square feet of heated floor and pool area. So since that's the standard that we set in the past, that's what we asked them to do here, which would require them to provide 12 parking spaces, which they have done. And that includes 1 ADA parking space. For the architectural treatment, the proposed architectural treatment is composed of white brick veneer, stone veneer, fiber cement siding, and white brick wainscot. Those elevations are in the packet for you and on the screen. For the trash enclosure, a trash enclosure is proposed on site to house residential trash cans. However, it's designed to be large enough to fit a dumpster if they need it in the future. The enclosure is proposed to be made of split face CMU with brick veneer and steel doors. So it matches the aesthetic of the subdivision. For the landscaping and screening, there are several trees proposed along the north, south, and west property lines to provide screening for adjacent properties. There is a fence with screening proposed around the pool equipment storage. There's a typo in the report because on the plan it says wool screening and I didn't have time to fix it. But that's just, is it wood screening, Dustin?
It's just screening. That hasn't been determined yet. Whatever's required is what they're willing to do.
Okay, so we'll need to determine what kind of screening you guys want around the pool specifically.
Yeah.
And then they are also proposing 5 little gin magnolia trees for landscape screening around that. Pool equipment. Landscape screening is also proposed around the west, the trash enclosure. And then the trees that are located along the north and west property lines will need to be approved by the city engineer as they're located within proposed drainage easement. And then for lighting, it's being reviewed with the large scale development, but the photometric plan will have to be approved with that large scale to ensure that there's adequate lighting on the site without being a nuisance to the adjacent properties. And the proposed conditions are listed in your packet for you. I'm happy to go through them if you'd like.
I think we can hit that. I did have a question on a dumpster. You answered that with the gate. Looks like the pool equipment, you're proposing a fence. Pool screen?
Yeah, that's a typo. I think they originally typed wood screening. It should just say fencing.
It's a board fence,
Yeah.
and you have the 5 trees around it. They look to grow to be about 8 feet tall. Yeah, I mean, y'all see any issues with that? No? Okay. And then Kayla, were there any specific conditions that we needed to take a look at?
Just the ones that are already provided on the plans about making sure that fencing is required around the pool equipment and that trees should be planted around that pool equipment, and then landscaping required around the trash enclosure, which they're already showing.
Mhm.
There's no specific condition that we need to
Okay.
discuss being a condition.
Awesome. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or discussion before we open it up to the public? All right, Dustin, take a seat for us. Thank you. So this item is a public hearing. Here shortly, we will open it up, and if anybody from the audience would like to come up and say anything, please feel free. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Just as a note, they did post their sign at the appropriate time, and there was a publication in the newspaper. Certified mail wasn't required by the planning director since this was a freshly platted subdivision.
Okay. Is there anybody here to talk about this clubhouse at 300 Hedge Drive? Going once, twice?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Right, any additional comments from planning commission? No? Pretty straightforward, looks like a good plan. I think the screening's adequate as provided. Great. So, I'd entertain a motion on that.
Motion to approve conditional use 2414 Silverleaf Clubhouse.
Got a motion and a second. This is a public hearing, so can we do a roll call?
Swoboda,
Yes.
Gary Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Still not on.
Still, okay, so he is on. Tony Davis.
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
All right, that passed. Thank you.
I'm keeping my eyes out for Ben.
Diane, is there any chance you could email him a link?
I sent it to him.
You sent it to him? Okay. Awesome. All right. On to item B, which is rezone 2409 Fox Haven Phase 2. The request is a rezone from A1 to R3 single family and R3 multifamily. This is at the southeast corner of Bliss and Keller. And it is 6 acres to R3 single family and 0.91 to R3 multifamily. Is the applicant here? All right, do it.
Here with 4i Engineering. So this is a extension of that next phase for the Fox Haven subdivision. And it's currently zoned A1, so we're doing single family. We're rezoning it single family and multifamily in that one corner that's adjacent to the water department property. And planning to do maybe 8 units on that parcel there. All of that will come back with a large scale separately. And then the zoning will have another submittal for a planned unit development will come back. About on top of this.
All right. We'll let staff take us through it.
Thank you.
The current zoning of this property that's located on the southeast corner of Bliss Street and Keller is currently zoned A1. They're looking to rezone it R3 SF, which is the medium high density single family, and R3 MF, which is the medium high density multifamily. To the east of the property is Fox Haven Phase 1, which is R3 SF. To the west of Keller is his Crystal Cove Townhomes, which is R3 MF12, which was prior to the zoning code update for RTH5. And to the south is the Centerton Water and Sewer Department, which is zoned A1. This property has access from both Bliss and Keller. There are no existing structures that are on the property. For the requested zoning for R3 SF, it is intended for detached single-family dwellings with a front setback of 25, a side setback of 7 feet, a street side setback of 25 feet, and a rear of 20 feet. R3 MF is one structure on a single-family lot with 3 to 4 attached dwellings, which are side by side. The front setback for that is 25 feet, the side setback is 10 feet, the street side is 25 feet, and the rear is 20 feet. This parcel is off of Keller Road, which is designated as a minor arterial or a right-of-way of 90 feet, and Bliss Street, which is designated as a major collector or a right-of-way of 80 feet per the master street plan. Major arterials are busy roadways that serve as the main spine within the community and connect to adjacent communities, key destinations, overall region. Major collectors provide access to arterial roads, neighborhoods, parks, schools, and small commercial areas. They balance land access with mobility and direct traffic to the transportation grid. 40 feet of right-of-way currently exist along Keller Road and Bliss Street. An additional 5 feet of right-of-way will need to be dedicated for Keller Road with their subdivision. Centerton Water and Sewer are available from existing lines along Keller and Bliss Street. For the comprehensive plan, per the land use plan, this area is designated as medium high density residential. These areas encourage a greater variety within Centerton's housing stock and allow for more flexibility to build denser residential development in proximity to the city's major roadways such as Centerton Boulevard and Highway 102. This specific parcel is located within Node 6 on the growth accommodation plan, which is an area that should expand Centerton Boulevard to the west towards Decatur in a manner that can efficiently and effectively accommodate the significant population influx the city is expecting well beyond the life of this plan.
The number of housing options will also help support the commercial center at the intersection of Centerton and 279. Based on the goals of the comprehensive plan, the request to rezone R3 to R3 MF and R3 SF is consistent. Both R3 SF and R3 MF zoning effectively accommodate the significant population influx and provide a number of housing options. For the surrounding zoning and the existing uses, like I said, to the east, Fox Haven Phase 1 is zoned R3 SF, which has a density of 3.5 units per acre. Crystal Cove Townhomes is to the west, which is the RTH MF 12 or the RTH 5, which has a density of 6.48 units per acre. To the north is the Skyline Cottages, zoned R3 SF with a density of 6.23 units per acre with a PUD. And to the northwest is Kenyon Place, zoned R3 SF with a density of 3.65 units per acre. Based on the current surrounding developments in this area, the rezone requests for R3 SF and R3 MF is consistent with the surrounding uses in zoning. The maximum units per acre for R3 MF is 8, and the maximum units per acre for R3 SF is 6. For planning commission's consideration, the proposed rezone is consistent or not consistent with the following information items, which are listed below in your packet, unless you would like me to go over them with you.
No, we'll go over this.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, before we open it up to the public, is there any discussion? Planning commission? Nope. All right, so I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Tony, I'll make a motion, to open up the public hearing for rezone. 4-09 Fox Haven.
Second.
All right. So if anyone in the audience tonight is here to speak on this rezone here at Bliss and Keller, now's your opportunity, please approach the microphone. If you would, please state your name and address.
I'm Tom Sharp. I have the property that, for the A1 to R3 ML, come up right, no, the property right there.
There we go.
That's my property.
Gotcha.
I've had trouble with Tony Steele on when he developed the property above it, where he there with the property line. That fence has been there for forever. But I know it's been there 30 years because I have had to replace it once or twice. And I've had that place for 30 years. So as long as they stay on their side of the property, we've already had problems with, back here on the backside where they came over on us on 5 foot without us even knowing about it and put a manhole. And I don't want to go through that mess again because I'm not giving the city easements to come across my property when I still hay that field out there. And that's exactly what they would have done if I would have left that manhole on my side of the fence. And I don't want that problem again. I'm just.
So this is about the zoning of the property. Right now, we have no plans to look at. We have no
Well,
design.
whenever they come out and survey it, they surveyed over on my, up above that.
Do you have any comments about the rezoning?
This area right up here, when they surveyed it, they came over on me about 3 to 4 foot. And I asked them to take the pegs out. And finally, I picked the pegs up and threw them back over on Tony Steele's property at that time. That fence is a boundary. It's a legal boundary. Is that not right?
I'm not a surveyor. We're not surveyors. We don't handle any disputes. We're just talking about the zoning of the property
The
right now.
use of the land.
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't mind rezoning or stuff like that. Just stay on your own side.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, what was your address?
430 Keller.
430 Keller. Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight to speak on this rezoning? All right.
They did meet all of their publication requirements for their sign, the mail and the publication, and we didn't receive any comments via email.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to note that on the map, there's a weird little piece here that should also be R3 single family with this subdivision, but
Okay.
there's a little snafu. There's just a little snafu in there. We just, the map, I was like, that's not right.
Wrong color.
That's fine.
Yeah, right there.
Was
It's
this
a part of
a,
Fox Haven
It's
family.
part of Fox
was
Haven.
this a track split? Was in two?
Hmm?
Was this a track split or you just rezoning part of a single track?
It's part of the subdivision.
Yeah, it doesn't require a track split. You can just choose to rezone.
It'll follow it later though, because they'll have to, if approved, they'll have to split it on the multifamily or whatever they choose to do.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. Is
It
it
was one property.
gonna be one lot with multifamily or was it?
It's one lot right now.
Yeah.
The amount that they're rezoning to R3 MF is enough for just like one or two buildings.
One
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a lot.
It says, yeah.
Okay.
Right there stated. It's
Um,
0.9 acres.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing for item B.
John, a motion to close the public hearing, item B, rezone 2409.
Okay, so we're gonna go through our 5 questions here and get some answers. If you have anything to add, please speak up at the proper time. All right, so item A, is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? I believe the map up there was all medium, high density housing, so I would say that it does meet the comp plan. Does anybody disagree? Item B, is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? Again, it's actually adjacent to both of them. So I'm gonna say yes, it is compatible. Item C, would all of the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? Again, we're talking about single-family homes and multifamily units, which are both adjacent, so I think it does. Item D, would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? I don't believe this is any different request than what's been heard all around it, so I'm gonna say no. Agreed? Yes. Item E, if the public is opposed, why? Are the objections based on factual information relating directly to this request or opinion based? Does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? We heard about some property line disputes. But we had no objections from the public. So I'm gonna say there's no opposition. Does anybody have anything else to add? No. All right, I'd entertain a motion then.
John, a motion to approve rezone 2409.
All right, we got a motion and a second, in public hearing, so can we do a roll call?
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Gary Harris.
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
John Sessoms.
Yes.
And Joey Engel.
Yes.
Oh, Devin Murphy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
All right, pass, thank you. Okay. Moving on to item C, which is another public hearing. It's rezone 2410. Seminuk, rezone A1 to R3 single family at 12698 Bush Road. And it's 5.01 acres. Applicant is Odyssey Engineering.
If I could say something before he comes up there, the first map that we had sent out had the adjacent property to the east, this one here as A1, because it was missing on the map. So that's why in this one, I also included the ordinance when it was approved in it was May of this year. So I wanted to make sure that that was correct and let y'all know that that's why that ordinance is on there. So if any questions come up, it was just missing on that map. So it is R3, single family.
All right, What do you got tonight?
Hey, good evening. My name's Chris Tilley. I'm with Odyssey Engineering. Tonight, we're asking the planning commission to recommend approval for rezoning this property from A1 to R3 single family. This makes sense for a few reasons. First off, it follows the Centerton land use map, which designates this area for residential development, recommending a max density of 3 to 7 units per acre. This rezoning, R3 single family would allow for a max of 6 units per acre, which would fall in line with the city's goals for that area. Second, this project would be considered an infill development for the city, which would make use of existing infrastructure while making improvements to Bush Road along the property's frontage at the cost of the developer. It's already surrounded by residential development, which would meet the city's comprehensive plan to locate new residential development adjacent to existing neighborhoods. And then another reason to allow this rezoning is that it would help the city's goal to focus new residential development near the junior high, which ultimately minimizes traffic through Centerton compared to non-infill developments. And lastly, there is a precedent set in this area for this type of rezoning. If you look at the zoning map, you'll see multiple R3 single families in this area, including Bush Road Homes, which is the same size and general location as what is being requested tonight. With that in mind, ask that you consider recommending approval for this rezoning and answer any questions.
Thank you. All right. Tara again?
Yes.
All right.
Just like you said, he's requesting a zoning from A1 to R3 SF, which is our medium high density single family. This parcel is located on the north side of Bush Road between Wade Drive and Nottingham Lane. To the south is the Tamaron subdivision, which is zoned R2. To the west is A1 and Silverleaf subdivision, which is zoned R3 SF. To the north is the West Ridge Village subdivision, which is zoned R2. And to the east, like she stated, it is R3 SF that was zoned in April. And then there is Bush Road Homes Development, which is R3 SF, that's also to the east. Access to the property is off of Bush Road, and this parcel has an existing house on the property that is to be removed with the development of the property. The requested zoning, the R3 SF medium high density single family is an area for attached single family dwellings. The front setback is 25 feet, the side setback is 7 feet, the street side is 25 feet, and the rear is 20 feet. This parcel is on Bush Road, which is designated as a major collector with a right of way of 80 feet for the master street plan. Major collectors provide access to arterial roads, neighborhoods, parks, schools, and small commercial areas. They balance land access with mobility and direct traffic to the transportation grid. There is no current existing right-of-way on Bush Road frontage of this property. Centerton water is available along Bush Road, and there is a Centerton sewer connection on Nottingham Lane. Per the land use plan, this area is designated for low medium density residential. Low density residential areas consist of single family detached residential homes with a density of 1 to 3 units per acre. These existing large lot single family residential areas exist on the fringe of the city and should be preserved. This parcel is located in Node 2 on the growth accommodation plan. Node 2 is an area that includes the designated residential areas adjacent to the new junior high. New residential development should be focused in this area to capitalize on the adjacency to the new school. And this section of the city can also support high density. Based on the goals of the comprehensive plan, the request to rezone to R3 SF is consistent as it provides a higher density to support the growth accommodation plan node that the parcel is located in. For the surrounding zoning and existing uses, to the south is the Tamaron subdivision, which is R2, has a density of 3 units per acre. The Silverleaf subdivision that's to the west is R3 SF, and the density is 4 units per acre. To the northeast is the West Ridge Village subdivision, which is R2 and has a density of 2.25 units per acre. And Bush Road Homes, that's to the east, is R3 SF with a density of 7.4 units per acre. And with the parcels the other parcel that's R3 SF is not being developed yet, so it's just, there's no units per acre currently. Based on the current surrounding development in this area, the rezone request for R3 SF is consistent with the surrounding uses and zoning. For the comprehensive plan alignment for planning commission consideration, the proposed rezone is consistent or is not consistent with the following implementation items that are listed in your packet.
All right, for everybody's knowledge, can we discuss assuming the R3 SF is gonna be considered the medium, right?
Medium high.
Medium high. And this is medium low, right? On the
It's low medium.
low medium,
What year was the ordinance For the adjacent property, what does it say?
24.
April of 2024.
Any discussion from the commission on this before we open the public hearing?
We did receive.
Yep.
4 email comments that were included in your packet.
See 2 and then a bunch of Facebook posts.
Yeah, they wanted to show the accidents that have occurred in the area. One we received later this afternoon that we couldn't
Okay,
put stuff in the packet.
okay.
Just for clarification, this is the low medium on the comp plan, which calls for a units per acre of 3 to 7 units per acre. And our 3SF is 6 units per acre, so it
Okay.
fits squarely in there. Sorry.
All right, I'd take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. The public hearing is now open. If you're here to speak on this topic, please feel free to come up, state your name and address. And we ask that you keep it to 3 minutes apiece. Thank you. Hi.
My name is Nadesha Richardson. I live at 510 Tamron Drive. I'm the reason you have Facebook posts in front of you. My husband can't be here, so that's part of the reason why we sent in a letter, and I'm the representative for our family. Like I mentioned, I live in Tamron on Bush. The reason I provided for you guys these pictures, several of them are Facebook posts. These are just from my private feed. So this is just a very small sample of what the people in this neighborhood experience every single day. I have also included outside of Facebook posts, just pictures of people walking either on Bush or attempting to cross Bush and Vaughn, which as we discussed, or as she mentioned, this is a major intersection, so really dangerous. And I know we've talked about this in planning and city council meetings before, that there are lots of children who walk in those ditches to the junior high. So that's why it's especially critical that we're paying attention to the traffic in that area, because every time there's an accident, that's putting a lot of children at risk. So that's why I printed this out for you, because in the past, I've come to speak on this and I was told that I was speaking with emotions and not facts, and I don't know how else to prove it to you because I'm the one who sees it. So I'm trying to capture for you the things that I'm seeing every day. So my biggest complaint with the rezone is that it's intended, as she mentioned, right now, low to medium, not medium to high. And for me, that's really significant because we're adding more and more cars to what is already a really, really big problem. I think Centerton needs to grow. I think that's great for our community. I just think it needs to be done correctly. And right now, we don't have good infrastructure in this area to support that. There's not enough through streets, so people don't have another option besides going down Bush and Vaughn. And so when people are trying to get to work, trying to get to school, it's extremely backed up. And so people are just making more risky calls than I think they should, especially considering there's lots of kids in those ditches at that time. And additionally, because there's nothing outside of stop signs, I've seen some pretty creative interpretations of traffic laws. Everyone kind of has their own approach to that intersection, which makes it really dangerous. So I would just ask that city planning takes that into account. I understand that you guys can't necessarily control, roads that might be controlled by the state, but they're the reality that we need to plan around. So please consider the safety of the children who are there, the families that are living there, and understand that at least if we have less cars versus hundreds being added to the problem, it's gonna be more manageable. And please take the time to look through this. And if in the future, if you think there's a better way that I can prove to you that these are facts and not just my feeling, let me know. I'll do the research. I'll be here. I come to meetings because I really care. I rescheduled my whole day so I could be here. So if there's a better way I can bring you my arguments, please let me know, because we came to try to prevent this rezone that happened right next to this land, and it was shut down, I think 3 or 4 times before it passed in April. So let me know how I can get you guys to take this seriously, because I haven't met a single person in my neighborhood who thinks this is a good plan. Thank you so much.
Good evening, council. Grateful to be here. My name is Nathan B. I live at 1420 Amber, which is just off of Bush Road, right there on the corner, right next to Bond. I want to make my point very clear that I am very against this proposal. I not only can see the traffic flow on Bush, I can hear it. I can hear how fast people drive. I have witnessed countless accidents at this intersection. Bringing more high-density homes into this area is not a good idea. If any of you live in this area, you will know. High-density homes is not the answer, at least not right now. As was said before, we need to make major improvements to our streets before we can bring these homes. So that's another community vote against this proposal. Thank you.
I'm Richard Marwoodell at 1520 Aniston Road, so in the Tamaron. I was here back in, well, first off, I'm also against the rezone. I was here back in April for the rezoning of the adjacent property. And one of my biggest concerns is the traffic and the safety. I mean, even just the Silverleaf Estates, I mean, you used to be able to go out, and now it is dangerous. I've almost been in a few accidents myself. But there's a question, is it consistent with the land use around? And on paper, you see the R3SF and R3SF, and it looks like it's consistent. You have these overlapping ranges, right? But the problem is somehow, you know, we've got the Nottingham Lane and Bush development that is at 7.4. So they got a PUD, and somehow they're able to go above what is consistent. And just a visual, if you can imagine sticking two people on a single seat, that's comfortable, fine, you know, you can do with it. Now try putting 7 people in the same seat. That's not consistent. I don't understand why it is considered consistent. So I'd like you to think about the reality of that and the dangers that we're introducing to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachel Tashima. I live at 12712 Bush Road. We are that green box right next to the property in question right now. We are zoned currently A1. So we have lived in Centerton for 9.5 years. We lived in the Tamaron neighborhood on Lancaster Road for 6 years and currently live on the property right next to this one. And we've been here for 3 years. We love living in this area. Tamaron is a neighborhood community that frequently comes up on social media as just a core Centerton family-centered neighborhood. It has homes on quarter-acre lots, nice backyards, 3-car garages, tons of kids. People like coming for trick-or-treating, you know, like nice festive decorations. People take really great care of their yards, even though we don't have a POA, which shows that community feel really is there in the neighborhood. It's zone R2. Westridge was built behind us, or just up there with modern-looking homes, also 3-car garages and a pool, a playground. And these residents also actually constantly use Bush Road for access to their neighborhood. We are against this R3 single-family rezoning. We feel that it is inconsistent with the city's plan for low to medium density homes in this area. The developer insists that this rezoning is consistent with the city's plan because there is a no to exception. I'm not sure who decided this no to thing. That says that there is a need for high density homes in a school zone. Grimsey Junior High is across the street, or sorry, it's across Vaughn Road with absolutely zero sidewalk access or even a crosswalk to get to the school. Adding high density leads to high numbers of people accessing Bush Road, which is already happening, Vaughn Road, and the intersections. This leads to a decrease in safety, more accident, and higher costs associated with emergency personnel assisting and using up valuable resources. We have turned out from this area and this neighborhood in the hopes that we are heard by our city council. We cannot put in any more high-density rezoning along Bush Road when there is no infrastructure support on Vaughn. There are 5 areas. Oh, I'm sorry. There are 5 acres to the east of this property purchased by the same party that is requesting this rezoning, which indicates that they do want the acreage to develop. The 2 acres to the east of that has been rezoned R3 single family with a PUD request to increase the density even more to 7 homes per acre. This exact bait and switch being done by developers is the exact reason why we don't want the R3 rezoning. So they say, oh yes, let's rezone R3, and then they come in with a PUD that then lets you go from 3 to 6, which is already not desirable, to 7. 7.4 units per acre. So just to reiterate, we live immediately up against this property being discussed. Our backyard will not be the same with numerous high density homes surrounding us. Because it's high density, it's, potentially 2-story to maximize square footage. There's no backyard space, which then puts them right on our property line. We're the ones that have to live with as many as 15 to 20 houses now popping up along the 643 feet of our home. To be clear, we are against this R3 single family rezoning as it is too dense and too open to interpretation by developers. We would be for an R1 or R2 rezoning. We want low, medium density homes consistent with Tamron and Westridge that we're surrounded by and consistent with the land use plan approved by the Centerton Commission. Thank you.
I'd like to clarify something, define the low to medium, before we open the public hearing. In the master land use plan, the low to medium category is defined as 3 to 7 units per acre. And, just to be clear, the applicant's requesting 6. That's what the calculations come out to. Want to make sure y'all knew that.
To clarify that, the Bush homes that's next to it, the PUD, how many is on that property?
It's 7.4 units per acre.
7.4.
It has a PUD.
Thank you. The adjacent property, correct? Okay, thank you.
Great news. That's on the agenda tonight. So
Yes.
if you stay, you'll get to hear about that one.
But with the clarity of the definition, the zoning plan was written with different definitions, but when you say low to medium and then medium to high, the medium overlap allows for, if it stays low, medium density, you can still do 7.
Off the top of your head, do you know what the high density units per acre is?
Well, medium high is 7 to 11. So
Okay.
our 3S is actually on the low side.
The low side of the medium high, so it's the medium overlap that we're looking at.
And the comp plan doesn't really match what our zoning is, because zoning, R3 single family is
Only
6 units per acre.
But
Without a PUD.
But it is technically called medium high. So there's a disconnect. But it
Medium-
does only allow.
Medium word fits in both zoning.
Yes, yep.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name's Theron Dome. Just moved here in September. I live in 2020 Blue Bonnet. So I moved here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is the densest and most populous city in Minnesota. And the traffic here on Bush, I drive it every single day, is more insane than in Minneapolis, right in downtown. So adding any more to that is absolutely insane. Coming from an urban city, I thought I was moving to Arkansas. I was gonna be more rural, right? But holy crap, there is no room here, guys, for real. And that's all I have to say, because again, I've just moved here. But that's my 2 cents on it, coming from Minneapolis. I think just adding any more with the infrastructure that's here is just not, it's not gonna go. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
You mind if I hand these to you?
Sure.
My printer ran out of ink, so these 2 are the same. These are not. Feel free to just pass them down. So those are just copies, those are just pictures that I have taken personally in my own car. Yes, I tried to do it. Those are just pictures I've taken while being passenger, so they were taken safely. Those are the only ones I could take safely. My name is Dr. Bronte Welker. I live at 511 Tamron Drive. I wanted to come and say again, like, I'm against, obviously, the rezoning of this property. for a couple of reasons. I would like to start off by saying that the Bush-Vaughn intersection, obviously it cannot support a 26 to 32% increase in the population that the R3 designation would create. In case anyone was wondering, I actually looked up statistically the difference. In case you're wondering, from 2018 to 2019, there were only 9 accidents on the intersection of Bush and Arkansas 279, which is also called Vaughn. And last year there were 34 accidents at that same intersection. And then also, in case you were wondering, at the intersection of Centerton Boulevard and Tater Black, which is known as probably the most dangerous intersection in all of Centerton, there were 38 crashes. So only 4 more crashes at the most dangerous intersection in Centerton than at this intersection that we're talking about right now. So I just like to put that into perspective. I have all the numbers here for you in all of the years if you're interested, but I think we all know, right? Traffic here is a major problem. So I don't feel like I need to hammer that in. I would just like to say, since adding more high density housing, which has primarily been since 2022, the accidents in this area have skyrocketed from 9 to 34. And I recognize, right, we don't have control over the state controlled highway. But that being said, there are no plans to add minor arterial roads. There's no plans for through streets. Everything's already been bought and purchased and built up. There's no way to put through streets. So now we have to be very safe and very careful in what we're zoning and how we're zoning it so that it's continually livable. Especially considering the fact that Grimsley is there and there aren't any sidewalks to Grimsley and kids do walk there. And so you can see right in the pictures I provided, those are kids walking to school, right? Those are parents walking their kids. Those are people bringing groceries home. There's a guy running down the street. That's my street that I live on. I mean, people live here. People are in danger. The second point I wanted to make is the R3 designation doesn't allow for any yard space. And Centerton does not have any new homes with yards. So I think it's really interesting that we keep talking about the land use plan, which was recently updated. And I understand that Centerton grew a lot more than we expected, so we had to update a lot of things, put more options for medium to high density in that than were previously expected. Fine, that's fine. However, if you look at all the R3 designations in this area, they were all given that designation in 2022 or 2023. Right, so very, very recently, there was no anything that wasn't R2 in this area until then. And then suddenly it was pop, all of these R3s. I believe it was Featherstone Road down Fish Hatchery that was used as like, well, there's some high density down Fish Hatchery, so maybe we can put some high density down here. That doesn't make any sense to me. As I can't remember who it was, someone else said it before. The property that's adjacent, I think I even have the name here. George Weeks' property here at 12660 Bush Road. There were 4 appeals to this council. I'm sure you probably remember it. 4 appeals for that property to be rezoned from A1 to R3D. And we all came out here 4 times to say, please don't do that for all the reasons we mentioned. It was voted down by you guys 3 times. On the 4th time, even though nothing had changed in the roads, nothing had changed in the plan, there was no new housing that had gone up, you voted that it was okay and you gave him the designation. And now, now he has a designation. Well, now they need the designation. Well, now they need the designation. So we see now the slippery slope of all of this space that really should be R2 turning into R3 high density and causing a problem. I'm with some of the other people who said this area does need to grow, but I agree that the R2 designation or R1 designation is what it needs. Centerton needs new homes with space, with yards. This is actually my brother, and I've been to his new home, and there's no yard. None of these new homes in these R3 have any yard. You walk outside and you're like hit in the face with a fence. There's nowhere for these young families who are in a school zone, right, to have any yard for their kids and families to play. We need more space. We need a little bit more space for yards, more space for dogs. We need R1 or R2, not these R3 high designations, more of the low medium, which is what it's meant for.
We're getting close to the 3 minutes.
That's fine. I feel like I've driven my point home. I feel like you understand what the people want to say. Other points can be made at different times, but I'm against this rezone for all the points that I've said, and hopefully you can see how it really doesn't make sense, all things considered. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Second call?
I will say that they met their publication and signposting and certified mail requirements, and we did receive 4 email comments. One of them was someone who did come in tonight.
My husband, actually, he's not here.
Yes, so we did receive email comments as well that are attached in your packet.
A motion to close the public hearing?
On a motion to close public hearing for rezone 2410.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
As a fact check for the Weeks rezone that was on Bush Road, that one actually got rezoned to R3 SF this year.
Not duplex, right?
Yes.
The duplex specified.
Was denied 3 times for a duplex and
Yes.
approved for a single family.
Yes.
Right.
I wanted to ask for a definition since our codes have changed over the last couple of years on that low, medium, and then we designated it as R1, R2, all the definitions have changed. It's currently planned for just low, medium, correct? Which left unchanged, according to the current plan, allows for up to 7 homes per acre. They're requesting 6 homes per acre. Okay, make it clear.
But technically, to be fair, they're not tied to the 6.
They're not tied to
They
that,
could
that's
go
what
to
they're
7.
planning, yet, but they could go up to 7.
Well,
If
the
a-
zoning
Based on the
code does just allow 6.
Yeah, based on their zoning, only 6.
If FS, if
Oh,
R3, single
R3
family is
single family.
approved.
Yes.
If it's not approved and it remains as planned, low, medium, they can go to 7.
If they wanted to ask for a different zoning that allowed up to 7,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. With this zoning, it would be up to 6, unless they do a PUD. But then again, that still has to come back before you and also a public hearing.
And R2 is. Has been brought up a bunch here.
I know.
The range for R2.
We don't have to remember that one as often.
I have the code pulled up, 1 second.
Theoretically, it would have been R2, we changed the definition to low, medium. It's the medium overlap that keeps getting. Usually.
No, but I mean like our old I want to see, don't quote me totally, but I want to say R2 was like
It's in the code.
Yeah, we need to,
4 units.
It's in the code, let's look that up.
Not in the code.
it's not in the code?
Well, it's 8,000 square foot lots.
Or about
The
43,
units per acre isn't outlined in the code the same way.
And R3 are minimum of 6,000 square foot lots.
Okay.
So therein lies the difference.
Oh, public math. real quick.
8,000, divided by 43,560.
R2 is 8,500 square feet.
85.
500, I'm sorry.
Three.
3,560. Supposed to be the other one.
5.1.
And that's, complete density without.
Yeah, that's no
adjusting
right away,
for
no.
roads
Yeah.
or Right of way or
That's the
detention.
max. You're not looking at the PUD, you're looking at the use of the land. Right,
Correct.
you gotta look at the max.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So the max as R2 was 5 homes, the max as R3 is 6 homes per acre. And this is how many acres? 5. So a difference of 5 homes. Okay,
Is
let's
there
make sure we understood the definitions, okay?
any other discussion before we go through our questions? You want to say something?
Yeah. Want to discuss.
All right, so we will roll through these questions here. Question A, is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comp plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, I believe it's consistent because it's the 6 units and the max on that low medium is 7. That's my opinion. Does anybody else have anything?
I mean, yes, technically. You're correct. The inconsistency would be possible, and I'm just throwing out a possibility with just, yes, the land use plan, we've been given that, we have to play off of that, but with the reality of what's occurred around there, with the lack of infrastructure, keeping up with it, and everything else, I wonder if we could also say that it is inconsistent with what is already built up around there.
Well, that's another question.
Ruth?
Yeah. Here we go. Question B. Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? If you go back to the map, there is adjacent R2, which was zoned. Oh, I'm getting recorded.
It's A1. That
R2,
green,
I'm sorry, R3 zoned, that was brought up earlier to single family, not duplex. West one parcel across Wade, there's an entire subdivision in R3 single family. To the north, you have R3 duplex, which is even more dense. But Brandon, to your point, it is immediately adjacent to R2.
and the plan for that A1 space in between that parcel in the middle was owned by one of the speakers tonight and it's planned as R2, right? Well, low, medium density, which would have been our old R2, right?
What are you talking?
The parcel west,
Oh, yeah.
parcel west of the proposed lot.
It's all
And currently A1,
correct.
but it's
if
planned,
we go to the map, can we go to the map on the right?
but it was planned for low to medium.
It's all low to medium.
Yeah.
So. Brandon?
Yeah.
Do you feel it's not compatible?
I'm gonna say no. But only be due to the outlying R2s surrounding it. I mean, I could say it's compatible because there is a R3 to the right, SF R3 one over, but I want to look at everything. Can't just say that. So I'm gonna say no, but.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see both sides of that. I can see where it is compatible to the east, but not to the west. So you're a buffer zone.
So I guess where I settle on it is if there is some lack of compatibility, then that's where I would default to.
Gotcha.
Unless it was 100% compatible, then of course it's compatible. And because that's what I'm saying is it is, yes, it's compatible on one, no on the other, but that's where I would lie.
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
One interesting fact about R2 zoning, you can also have duplex in R2
By right.
by right.
Where R3 SF.
R3 you cannot.
Interesting.
Wow. Let's
You
just-
do require a bigger lot. It does require a bigger lot, but it is allowed,
So-
right?
And I think that's the point I'm trying to make, and I hope we all understand. What they're asking for is less invasive, I would say, or less dense than what they could do if the change, if it's not rezoned and it goes to plan. So that's something to consider.
I agree.
That's the main complaint, I think, public reaction is we don't want it to be as dense as we think it may be, right? The question is density.
I mean, that's where I'm landing on this thing, you know?
Yep, I've always been opposed to R3 single family. You know that. I've talked to you about it before. So, but I mean, that's one of our.
Zoning.
Yeah, that was done before I became on the commission, but I am opposed to R3 single family period.
I'm gonna say something a little different, Brandon. I completely understand where y'all are coming from, but we have no other metric than density to measure these by and assign them a class, whether that's low, medium, or medium high. We've clearly defined both of those buckets, if you will. And this one falls technically by all the information we have, falls into the low, medium residential bucket. And it's not even maxed it out, to the second, right? So. Yeah, I'm gonna say it is compatible.
Yeah.
With the surrounding area and zones. It is immediately adjacent to one that's already R3, single family. I think it's kind of hard to argue that. I understand where you're going.
Yes, yeah.
So you're you're a no, you don't think it's compatible. Jerry's a no, because he doesn't like R3 single family. Kevin?
I'm kind of agreeing with Brandon, but like I said, you're also on the other side of that, like they just brought up, you can go from 5 extra houses to count that as 10 cars, and then you can have the duplexes right back and have 15 cars, you know, more traffic. So it's to stay consistent with the line. I mean, I do agree with Brandon on that. Clean line would be nice. I've been there long enough when we just had R2, R3, we didn't have all the residential R3, you know, like we have now.
The overlap.
If you want a duplex on a second, you had to come in and ask for that because the lots had to be bigger.
Which they would have to come back if this was, if it was voted down, they would have to come back. Request an R2D if they want. to do so.
They would just come back as R2 and by right.
You don't have to differentiate between.
But they do at the R3 level.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's
what.
oh, yeah.
You know, you don't,
If they're-
if it doesn't approve, they could come
It
back
could be
with a
worse.
higher density by right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the definition change from the R1, 2, and 3 to low, medium density.
To do it. They would be able to do 80 by 120.
Now, with a duplex in R2, I believe the lot square footage is 10,000 square feet, 12,000. square feet.
Larger lot.
You'd have to have a substantially larger lot, but it is allowed by right. They would just have to provide the larger lots.
Sure. So,
Oh, man.
so Devin,
That stinks.
Devin, is that a yes or no? Is it compatible?
I would say no, just because of the size of the acreage right now.
Okay,
If it's bigger, I'd be worried.
I'm a yes.
I think by definition, and if my lawyer would tell me, by definition, he's gonna say no. Cause it doesn't, I would think so. Density wise, yes. By intent,
We're talking about
by intent. but-
rezoning.
Yeah, but if you look at the definition of does it fit the actual zone around it? No, you got
Can you
A1
go
right
back
next
to
to it.
the,
You got A1 right next to
to
it.
the other map?
You got A1 next to it and that A1's planned for R2. So by current definition,
What do you mean it's planned for R2? It's not
it's
planned.
in the
for-
master plan for R2.
No, hey, this whole area is low, medium.
Low to medium, okay, you're right.
So it's no different than this property.
Correct.
That medium property next to.
Or this one,
Yeah.
or this one.
The whole square is low, medium.
But that's if someone were to rezone that property. Right now it's A1.
Right.
And if there's a home on it that I'm planning on moving, it's gonna stay A1. Correct?
Until they decide to sell it and develop, correct?
That's what I'm thinking. It's just right in the middle of. That's where I'm stuck at is the homeowner, the people that own that parcel there. I don't know that it matches the surrounding areas. Currently, if it didn't have that piece in the middle, then yeah, it would butt up against R3 all on both sides, but
But what about these here that have been approved?
they have R3 on both sides. Well, they have,
No, that one had, it had.
oh, that one had A1.
All
Yeah,
the
you're
way,
right.
it had
And
R3.
I probably
you
was
would
a no
never-
on that if you go back and look.
You would never rezone anything if it couldn't.
The minutes are in the packet.
Look at it. Yeah, look at it.
So you're a no?
On that one, on that question.
Tony?
I would lean no. According to my lawyer.
I'm not, you know, I'm a property rights guy and they're wanting to develop something that's within code unless, I guess, intrusive over what could be there by right. So who am I to tell a property owner
That's not one question.
that, but that's where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Is that I think it is in fact, when they're talking about the lack of infrastructure, there's gonna be sidewalk that will be required to the east of that property currently, that's currently zoned. If you go back to the map.
Any of that development would require.
That's what I'm saying.
Sidewalk
That was
development.
one of the things, and that's one of these pictures are showing.
Right, it's like
There is no
development actually
infrastructure, and the way you
kinda
put
helps
the
that.
infrastructure there is by allowing the development and requiring development to put the infrastructure in. So,
The Bush homes that Phil, are you here? Where are you at, Phil?
The public.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when he got approved, he is not required to put in a sidewalk, and I was here for that meeting.
Okay, we'll
Yes,
come.
he is.
He is required. Thank you. No, sir, I'm sorry. The public hearing is closed. I'm sorry.
Sidewalks on Bush Road.
We understand.
It's nothing
We
there.
understand. It hasn't developed, and that was Tony's point.
Okay.
Got it.
Hold on.
It's not going to do anything.
Sir,
We understand, but just heads up. We closed the public hearing. Technically, you're not allowed to be commenting on that. We're just sharing our comments there. I think also something just to be aware of, we don't control the infrastructural part of that, meaning like,
yeah, but
I'm talking about, yes,
The planning of it.
yes, thank you.
yeah. You're talking about going out and actually building it? Is
Sir?
that what you mean?
No, I'm talking about like in order for the infrastructure to occur, to what Tony's saying, it has to be done by those building the subdivisions at the time that they're gonna do it. That's part of it. And to get the sidewalks we need, we do have to build that. But either way, that's gonna happen regardless of zoning.
When it's developed, you're gonna
When
have
it's
the street improvement is the requirement, you're gonna have the sidewalk whenever any of it's developed, regardless of zone.
And
So currently, when the property to the east comes to us with their large scale, they're gonna be required to do road improvement with the sidewalk all the way in front of their property. If we approve this, the same will be required of this developer. So you will have road improvements and sidewalks all the way on the R3SF. Right now. Currently does not exist. I understand.
Right.
Because it hasn't been.
There is no sidewalk from 279 all the way to Wade right now.
Correct.
No sidewalk, period.
You're
It hasn't
correct.
been developed.
So the question is, how do we get sidewalks there? The answer to that question is you make the developers who have rezoned that will bring large scales to us.
Yeah.
We will require them to put sidewalks in.
That's right.
That's how you get.
And we
it.
have been consistent.
And to be fair, we're also talking about parcels that have been developed, right? So at some point, the city is gonna have to do something
in the gap.
and do some
Well, I was
sidewalks.
gonna say, because from 279 to Morningsport or whatever that is, there is no sidewalk, and that's already been developed years ago.
No, you aren't.
I think it's good for us to have that conversation publicly because that might not be clear.
So I tend to answer yes with Joey's point on this one in the fact that, I mean, we've already allowed the person to the east the same rights that this person is asking for.
And I seem to, and I could be mistaken, but I seem to recall we were having this same conversation when we were discussing with that property.
It was recent. It was.
I think it was a similar desire to protect the number of units per acre. And the possibility that if you do go R2, they do have by right chance to develop that as a
Which is why they changed from R3D to R3 instead of going R2, because R2 would have allowed for duplexes that we had discarded by R3D.
Right.
SF?
SF, no, by R3, they asked for R3D, no, the one to the east, they asked for R3D, we kept saying no, so then they came back with R3SF.
Single family, yeah, I just want to be clear.
Here was Phil's discussion of the questions from April.
So
And also, if I might add, Tamaron is one of the older subdivisions, as far as older for Centerton. And that was before it was required and the developer have to put in sidewalks. And the city will have to come in at some point in time. And I know Public Works is working on a lot of sidewalk projects, especially in areas around schools. They have to put in a sidewalk somehow there along Bush.
But it's noted there, this is property to the east, correct? It's noted there, very top line, about the infrastructure improvements.
Because.
And if I'm not mistaken, the school's less than a mile away from this.
Correct, and they have to.
Okay, so
Have to walk.
there are
They don't get-
actually opportunities for the city to get sidewalks sooner than later with the Safe Routes to School program that allow funding for sidewalks within a mile of school. So that's another opportunity the city can take advantage of to help the infrastructure in this area, along with development.
Yeah, I mean, out of everything we heard tonight, I don't think anybody's arguing about sidewalks or traffic. That's the deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
And I go back to, it could be a higher density if this rezone, the developer comes back, he's like, fine, I can't get this, then I want to go for this. And by right, we have to allow them, which will actually potentially increase the traffic if we don't allow this development. For example, when I say development, don't get me wrong, I understand the.
Yeah.
This rezone actually protects a lower development than what could be if we fail to, if we don't approve it.
all right, so you're a yes.
I mean,
On that question,
I'm a
go to
yes.
the next question.
Hey, Brandon, you were going back and forth down there. We go.
I mean, you look at the notes from our last conversation where it was a yes because it is single family.
Yeah, and I really think,
That's what,
I really think that's the question that should have been asked.
The usage.
Or the answer for this next question where it's about uses. So I think it's kind of apples to oranges on this. This is just compatible with the surrounding area and zones. But a fact of that is, yes, it is all single family. The
I mean,
zoning.
I agree. I mean, it is compatible with single family.
I think we're in the wrong question. We're question ahead of the intent.
No, the question is proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I think because the zoning classifications do differentiate between single family, duplex, multifamily, I think that can be a part of this, but on the surface, when you look at it, that we're given, I do believe it goes better with the next question, but we're
Agree.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna stick
That's a
with.
3-3.
It's the one question. It's not the vote. It's just.
I know, I'm just. Again, legal counsel, we'll get in trouble if we don't clearly define it. Okay, moving on to the next question. C, would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? This personally is where I feel like, yes, it's all single family. Everything around it's single family. I feel like that answer is more appropriate for this question we just asked. Does anybody? Anybody disagree? D, would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? My opinion is it's exactly similar to what was asked door to the east. So I don't believe it's a benefit to this specific landowner. It meets the window of low to medium density.
We already have considered all the other adjacent properties the same way.
Except one.
Has it been brought to us?
Correct. Anybody disagree with that? All right, the last question. If the public is opposed, why? Are the objections based upon factual information relating directly to this request or opinion based? Does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? there were some items that came up like traffic, sidewalks, accidents. I don't think anybody's, again, arguing with that. I believe, you know, the crash statistics, those are factual. But there was a lot of talk about high density up there, so I think there might have been some confusion on that. But I will say that the sidewalks, the traffic, and any crash statistics do apply to this situation. All right.
I think we did have one person say that they felt like this was. One person say that it was not consistent, that this zone request was not consistent with others, that was. Do you have to include that into this question as well?
Not really. Well, I mean, that's an opinion, right? That's kind of what we're up here doing. So, any further discussion?
I mean, land rights got to, you know, I get that. I just hope the developer heard a number of the complaints and might take into consideration that the R2 with 25, you know, getting the 25 versus the 30 homes in the R3, but then you have by right the opportunity to do duplexes if you wanted to. I mean, I don't want to leave that window open at all, you know, for that opportunity. But so I mean, I just consider what you heard tonight from your neighbors. I mean, we could get that houses down a little bit.
Anybody else?
I think that the facts presented and the intent, preservation of intent that we talked about. It sounds oxymoron, but approving means would guarantee lesser density than not approving. Which is not normally the case that we've seen when it comes to rezoning. Now that the definitions have changed. You know, from R1, 2, 3 into low and medium high density.
It wouldn't necessarily change the amount of density, but it would allow with R2, you're not gonna be able to fit as many because it is a much larger.
They'd
lot.
have to request R2.
Correct. And then they could do a duplex, but they would be much larger.
The lots are large.
Lot.
Housing type.
I mean, in the end, it could potentially be a wash.
But under,
When a
but under the R2 with the,
duplex would create more traffic than a single family home, period.
like that, I think that was gonna be my question for y'all was if the R2 came, let's say they did come back for that and right, they can do the duplex. It actually could have the potential for having more family units.
We still do the density by unit though.
Correct.
A duplex is one unit, right?
No, it'd be 2 dwelling units, one structure, 2 dwelling units.
You could, whatever the math works out, acreage wise versus math, but it would.
No, I'm just asking what a duplex is counted as.
You're not gonna
No,
get.
it's not 2 per acre.
It'd be a lot more than that.
We had a lot more duplexes per acre.
At least 4, wouldn't it?
And the traffic would actually be more.
Yeah, so I mean, the duplexes would create a lot more traffic than a single family home.
I mean,
I just think that.
understand there is
the
a
fact
traffic,
Presented,
there is traffic during peak time during school,
I drive through there.
which is citywide. Around all schools, we have traffic issues. I understand that. And to help minimize the traffic, you have to put for traffic counts. I mean.
Right.
So this is a way to protect a lower traffic count by approving this rezone and, in my opinion, deny a rezone and have them come back by right. And again, to their point, is traffic, lack of sidewalks. We hadn't even talked about the road improvements that will be required in here. That's something that's failed to be mentioned. There'll be road requirements, so there'll be widening of the roads for this.
But that's at the.
So
large
then,
scale.
then you've got the one lot left and she's here tonight, but at some point in time, if she decides, whatever she decides, is gonna be a spot that, you know, is left to make that connection. That's it. We'll have a wider road with sidewalks to the end of the property line.
Yeah.
So
In my mind, to me, it makes a lot of sense because it's within the window of low to medium.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would say no, but that's just my opinion. All right, I would entertain a motion on this item.
John, a motion to approve rezone 2410.
Second.
A motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Kevin Murphy,
No.
Harry Harris,
Oh.
Brandon Swoboda,
No.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes. Ryan?
Yeah,
it's a tie and that's what we've got, so it doesn't pass.
Wait a minute, it's been on yet.
Oh,
No,
Oh.
I keep looking.
Okay.
the tie doesn't pass.
It doesn't pass.
Developer does have the opportunity to appeal to still go to the council.
Sure. Did everybody hear that?
No, say it again.
Technically, by the vote, it did not pass because it's a tie. But the developer has the opportunity to appeal and go to the city council, who ultimately approves these rezoning requests anyway. So if you want to follow that along, I would be watching the agendas for the city council.
And just so that we have it for the record for those that denied, what the reasonings were for your reason for denial. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Jerry, I didn't talk loud enough.
My reason for voting no,
To deny,
because I'm opposed to R3, single family.
Do you have a reason specific to this request?
I personally don't think it's consistent with the surrounding area.
That's the answer I would give as well, plus, would like to see the lower, an even lower, R2 rating, single family, not duplex by right, though, I understand.
That ain't gonna happen.
I'm in agreement with Brandon.
Same as Brandon. All right,
6 acres.
okay, that's the first time I've ever seen.
Never seen one. Thanks, Ben.
I keep looking for Ben, there's
He
no.
said
Ben
the
there.
email went to his junk and he didn't want to interrupt by going in.
Yes, sir.
I just had a quick question. Is it the tie? And I know it wasn't approved. Was it technically denied?
That's a great question.
Brian.
Yep.
So what's tied is technically
I
denied.
don't know that,
That would be my position at this point. It didn't pass. It didn't require a.
and on a rezoning, that would keep them from resubmitting within a year,
Well,
right?
wait a minute, no, the recommendation, it was not recommended to cancel. It's only denied at cancel. Correct?
No, he's there.
Right?
You lost me. Say that again.
The approval or denial is at city council. We are not approving to city council.
Right, yeah, typically you guys are, right, they can appeal it up to city council and.
But the rule is, right, on a rezoning that does not pass, you have to substantially change it to bring it back.
Within a year.
A year.
If it's denied at city council, yes.
Is there an option to like request a table tonight and wait until Ben Lewis is back?
Too late.
Yeah.
But a significant change would be a different zoning type, correct?
Correct.
Which is R2.
Right. Or R1.
I assume your client it's gonna go to city council. I imagine that's what's gonna happen here. Okay, all right, moving on. Item D, PUD 2106 Bush Road Homes, looking for a 6-month extension of their approval on Bush and Nottingham. Is the applicant here? I don't know.
Is there no
I think there's anyone.
applicant?
I thought Diane said, wait a minute.
No,
Oh,
no.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, give me a second to get to it, because I was scrolling through. it.
I thought you were gonna present it.
Yeah, wrong. My bad. I was like, okay.
See Phil.
So there's no applicant here?
It's Phil. I don't see Phil.
No. It doesn't look like it.
Table this one?
Yes, John, I motion to table development 2210. Second.
A motion and a second.
I will call, check on Phil. He doesn't usually no show.
He was notified.
All right. Item E, Development 2210. Bush Road Homes, another 6-month extension request.
They go together.
I'm sorry.
Go together.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we need a
Yeah,
motion on this one.
John, I motion to table 2210 and 2106.
Second.
Together.
Last but not least, we have subdivision 2313 Tower Park at 11609 West Highway 72. It's R3 single family zoning, 31.8 acres. Dan, you got the short straw tonight. You're at the.
My name's Dan Cole, Sand Creek Engineering. We represent Anderson Custom Homes for the Tower Park project. We do have two main components. We have the single family and then the multifamily commercial run along the Highway 72. And I would say probably the main things to bring to your attention is we are providing the standard connectivity of utilities and streets. We do have the bulk of the infrastructure is front to the front, the first phase, which is going to be our single family component subdivision. And then the areas where I know you'll be interested in seeing where we place landscaping will be on large scales as we bring commercial and multifamily components online for you to see and review.
Thank you.
Sorry, doorbell's making us nuts.
Oh, somebody's phone up.
Stop. Fantastic news.
Yeah.
The applicant is proposing a 51 lot single family subdivision between Walters Road and Highway 72. These parcels are surrounded by parcels that are located outside of the Centerton city limits to the north, east, and south. To the west are the Pine subdivisions, which is R3SF zoned. And then the Centerton Water Tower is located directly south of this property. There are 3 commercial lots along the frontage of Highway 72 that are zoned C2 and 2 lots that are zoned R3MF on the north and south of this parcel. These lots are not being developed as part of the subdivision and will require separate large-scale development plans. So you'll get to see those again before they develop. So for this subdivision specifically, it's zoned R3SF, which, as we have discussed intensively today, that's medium-high single family. And the specs for that zoning are in your packet for you. We kind of already went through the surrounding zoning and uses, the acreage and density for the Pine subdivision, and all of those phases are listed in your packet for you. For phasing, this subdivision is considered phase 1 of the development of this property, with phase 2 consisting of the multifamily lots and the commercial lots, which will require separate large-scale development. Centerton Water is available along Walters Road and Highway 72. There are several water lines running along the south property line connecting to the water tower, including a 36-inch water line for 2-ton and a 12-inch water line for Centerton Utilities. Sanitary sewer is available along the west side of Walters Road via manhole installed with the Pine subdivision. Sewer within the subdivision will be pumped to the proposed lift station, then carried to the existing manhole. Dan, feel free to correct me if that was, I don't have the engineer today. Centerton Utilities, as the time when I wrote this report was reviewing the most recent submittal, they finished their review today. They did not have any outstanding comments. Hooray.
Okay.
The property is not located within a floodplain and there are no wetlands on site. For drainage, a detention pond is proposed to the northwest corner of the property. The top of the pond is 1360.5 and the bottom is 1352.5, 100-year being 1358.97. meaning that the pond's depth is 8 feet. There is a 5-foot grass swale proposed along the west side of lot 54, which is zoned commercial. That's the commercial lot along Highway 72. There is a 20-foot building setback along the rear of the residential lots that abut that swale. So they meet that 20-foot horizontal distance from a structure requirement that's in the drainage manual. There are minor comments remaining. The drainage report due to a minor discrepancy with the calculations of an outlet structure, which will impact the water surface elevation of the 50-year and 100-year storm events. Alan was fine with it still coming to planning commission with those minor discrepancies. So we just recommend that any approval be made contingent on addressing staff comments. With the pond being 8 feet deep in total, I did want to bring up that at the discretion of the planning commission per the drainage manual, the developer may be required to install fencing around the of detention basins or drainage facilities if you guys so choose. Fencing criteria will be determined by you guys. If you guys decide it's wrought iron, there are some standards determined in the drainage manual. So that's item 1 for you guys to decide, is if you want to have a fence around this pond or not. For the adjacent street agreement, it's abuts Highway 72 and Walters Road. Highway 72 is designated as a major arterial with a planned right-of-way of 100 feet per the master street plan. That is also a state highway. A variable amount of right-of-way is to be dedicated along Highway 72 to provide that 50 feet of required right-of-way from the center line of Highway 72. On the master trails plan, the regional heritage trail is planned along the frontage of Highway 72. And according to the regional plan for that trail, this section of trail is part of the Trail of Tears and is slated to be 10 to 12 feet wide. A 10-foot sidewalk is proposed along the subdivision's frontage with phase 1. Streetlights are proposed at a spacing of 300 square feet and at entrances. Street trees will be planted in phase 2. For PC decision, should the sidewalk along Highway 72 be designed or left at the 10 feet width, or should it be upgraded to the 12-foot width because the trail could be 10 to 12 feet? So since this is the first development along this section that we've determined, we need to set that standard now on whether that is going to be 10 or 12 feet for that regional trail. For Walters Road is designated as a major collector with a planned right-of-way of 80 feet for the master street plan. This subdivision will dedicate 40 feet of right-of-way along their 50 feet of frontage, which is exactly enough to have an entrance off of Walters. It will include installing a crosswalk, relocating an access drive to the existing residential property to now access off of the local street being proposed, installing drainage improvements and installing a street light at the entrance. One of the local roads within the subdivision is called Tower Park Drive, and that's a proposed local street that connects Walters Road and Highway 72. Driveways on Tower Park Drive have been prohibited due to the street making this crucial connection between Highway 72 and Walters Road. It's staff opinion that this will more function as a minor collector. And so we recommend that it be designed and dedicated as such. To accomplish this, we recommend that the road be redesigned to have 2 11-foot travel lanes, curb and gutter, 5-foot sidewalk on either side of the road, and street trees planted in the remaining green space between the sidewalk and the road. So the difference being there's no on-street parking, and then we have enough room for street trees along the road instead of having on-street parking and no street trees. So that is for the PC decision as well. Should Tower Park Drive be designated and designed as a minor collector, or stay designed as a local road with no driveway access off of it directly? For landscaping is proposed with the medians on Tower Park Drive and Spire Lane. Street trees will not be placed along Highway 72 with phase 1, but will be installed with phase 2, which is the development of the commercial and multifamily lots. Staff recommends that additional trees be required on the detention pond lot and along Tower Park if it's designated as a minor collector. This will provide a buffer to the existing residential lot to the west. The most recent submittal of the plans are still under staff review. When I reviewed it today, I didn't have any major comments left, but I think Public Works still has to review it. So we just recommend that any approvals be made contingent on that being addressed and any changes that you guys determine is necessary based on the items to discuss.
Thank you. Before you catch your breath, I got a question. you're talking about, was it Tower Park Drive?
Yes,
One, is it on the master street plan?
no,
Okay. Two, what was your proposed section? 2 11-foot lanes.
5 foot sidewalks, curb and gutter, street trees.
That's what you're recommending?
So we're just basically kind of road dieting it so that there's only travel on the road instead of having on-street parking, because local streets allow for on-street parking. Since that's a connection from Walters Road to Highway 72, I imagine that's gonna be a pretty popular connection to use.
I just don't know what they do on the west side.
The west side where it's only 50 feet of right of way, my calculations fit 50 feet.
Okay. So basically, it doesn't change the road width. It doesn't change the right of way
Not at all, just,
dedication.
it's just 2 travel lanes instead of 2 travel lanes and on-street.
So it's
parking.
actually smaller.
Yes,
But fixes the issue of
Parking?
on-street
Do we
parking.
not just enforce no on-street parking?
It's designed as a local road, so,
I don't know. Can we call it something else?
yeah, minor collector.
Okay. Dan, this looks like a dry pond, right?
Correct, dry pond.
Okay.
I'm Skip Anderson, by the way. I'm the
Yep. There's discussion about a fence. Haley, give me the requirement on that. That came out of the drainage manual.
Yeah, so there isn't a specific moment in the drainage manual that I know of that requires the pond to have a fence. Other than like wet ponds, but for dry ponds, it's more at your guys' discretion. I just wanted to bring it up since the pond is 8 feet.
Sure.
So I'm not necessarily recommending or not.
Yeah.
You should talk to the engineer.
I will ask you one thing, the 8 feet is only at its deepest point near the outfall structure, which is across the pond from the residential. And so you're at that 6 feet limit, which is more your traditional, more common depth along those lots. And there's still some room if I need to basically make sure that all that perimeter around adjacent to residential is 6 foot to avoid having a fence. I can make that happen with the grading if that is of concern.
I'm not sure that was the requirement. It looks like you've provided a kind of a buffer area there.
Yeah, they have to have a 5 foot minimum around the pond, but.
Yeah, and it looks like you got every bit of that. So it slopes down just a little bit, flattens out, and then drops off into the pond.
And so we allow for that buffer period or that buffer area instead of a fence.
Not necessarily.
You would think so.
That, yeah,
You would think so. I mean, it's a safety deal, right?
yeah.
So there is if you slip and fall, there is a pretty large section here where it flattens out, yeah, a little bench, and then it drops back down into it. Personally, we haven't just randomly required fences on ponds, and a lot of the times they don't even have this wide of a bench on top. So my opinion is it's okay.
When have we ever required it? When is it
On a
required?
wet pond, it's
Or just on the
required.
wet, okay.
The concern is the depth. Now it is 6 feet on the very far east side, but then it quickly drops to 7 feet.
And that's a 4-to-1 slope.
Yes.
That's what I was.
Hazard.
And that's what I was.
It's not.
You got 4 to 1.
You're correct. Sidewalk, from the edge of the sidewalk down to that shelf is 4 to 1.
I wasn't necessarily saying we needed to have it. I was just writing the report and went, wow, 8 feet's kind of deep. And so I just bring it up.
It's Kayla's fault.
Yes.
It is a dry pond.
No.
It is a dry pond and it is 4 to 1 and 3 to 1 in some areas, right? So it's like.
Does everybody,
Fence is more typical when it's a wet pond.
does everybody agree on the fence? Tony, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Be good for sledding.
Item 2 was a 10 to 12-foot trail out front. I think it's a 10-foot as shown.
Yep.
What's that gonna be in? That can't be an RDOT right away, right?
It's a regional trail, but I'm not sure.
So the sidewalk is inside the RDOT right of way, which is traditionally okay and permitted as long as we meet their ditch slopes, which we do conform to.
Okay.
Code says 10 feet.
It's a-
Standard is 10 foot.
What is?
10 foot right now is for that major arterial. Yes. Is 10 foot wide.
Oh, I got
On
you.
our trails plan, it is the Heritage Trail, which is slated to be 10 to 12.
Right.
So.
Thoughts?
Yeah, of course, I'd love that tomorrow.
There's existing 10-foot trails running down 72 right now. So.
Where?
At when you go around the curve of,
Is that,
what's that subdivision?
is that?
In Bentonville.
Oh, in Bentonville? Oh, okay. I personally, I think 10 is a pretty wide trail
That's what I'm saying, to match.
and it matches.
Is that what it is currently at 10? What he's saying?
Yeah.
10 foot?
Mhm. Okay.
Where did 12 come from?
Subdivision. It's.
Everybody good on 10?
That's a driveway.
Yes, it is.
The last item was the road section down on Water. Tower Park Drive. Currently, is it shown as 12-foot? 12-foot lines?
It's 2 10-foot lanes and like 8-ish of on-street parking.
That's how it was shown for our first 4 revisions, and I think after that last one, they said, oh, let's make this change. Well, that's a big change on it, because it doesn't sound like much, but we have to re-engineer all the sewer, the water, the roads, all of that kind of stuff to accomplish what we're already accomplishing, which is we're not putting driveways off onto that road already. And we've added the medians in there in between, which weren't required, but we added those in there. So we think we've done what we need to do with the road we've got.
Can I ask a simple question here? And your road is bigger than,
Right.
what's shown on the plans is a wider road than what Caleb mentioned. Is it possible to just put no parking signs because that's what we're concerned about?
Possibly, I was also thinking about street trees for buffering purposes, especially for the residential that's along the west property line, that's existing residential.
Mhm.
If we narrow the lanes down, we can get street trees along that road.
So what was the back and forth on the section during review?
Like they said, it didn't come up till later in the review when Lorraine and Juliet with Garver looked at it and they said, oh, that's a pretty good collector. I went, you're right, we can talk about it.
And so making the road narrower would negatively impact.
But we have to re-engineer all that whole section, plus redo the sewer, the water, the electric, the.
Why does that change?
Yeah, I
Why
think.
does it change?
It's, and I know it sounds minute, but it's whenever I move elevations, it could be a 10th, all profile.
I understand the drawing changes for sure, but I'm wondering what changes about the hydrant locations, the street lights.
Those don't change.
The size of the road changes, and then there's a 5-foot grass space where they're wanting to put the trees, and then sidewalk. And so it does change the profile of all of that significantly. We just were a little frustrated that it came up at the very end when we're all completely done and it's made it through everybody's checks and balances. It takes a lot to make it through Alan's checklist and everything, and we had comments on our 5th.
I agree, it shouldn't.
5 o'clock tonight.
It should have came up before the last review for sure.
We're trying to make a really good looking project here.
Is the road on the north the same section? Noel, you got a median up there, right?
Medium, but it's.
Expands.
It doesn't do the same connection.
Yeah, I wasn't as concerned about that road because it doesn't make the crucial connection from Walters
Mm-hmm.
to Highway 70.
Would it be better to have a median in that road?
Oh, my goodness.
So.
Can you go back down to the south, let me see.
We're worried about
Worried about how it connects to the other road,
traffic and
have it
calming, you can put trees in median.
bottlenecks there or whatever.
I know like when we're at medians, I think. Oh, I'll be able to, I have to go to like 15 foot width.
Yes, I was gonna talk to you about that tonight before you leave, because some of these revisions I didn't see because they didn't really, I didn't have any comments previously, so I didn't get to see them. It's really simple. If you would just move the median back 10 feet. You just make your median shorter, so I don't think that would really affect your profiles or anything else. That's way minor compared to anything else.
Okay.
Thoughts
So
on
you're
the-
saying, Joey, instead of decreasing the width, to just add another median to get your tree or whatever? Outside. With the.
Adding medians would make the road wider because they have to have 15 feet on either side of the median.
Oh,
of
never
drivable
mind that.
Surface.
I mean, frankly, there's gonna be more people on it. It is a wider road than the other option. Well, and I also don't like that they were told 11th hour on it to change it.
The no parking signs, is that?
Yeah, can we just do that?
Is that?
I don't see the
issue.
Doing that a bit.
I don't see the gain in.
I don't think
reducing
you're
the
gonna be
size
in
of
your
the road.
right mind if you're parking on that road anyway.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah, I don't.
But I think to your point, it is gonna be a pretty traveled road. That might be helpful if you'd be willing, that'd be a lot cheaper to do that than.
We can certainly do that.
Gosh, even if you just stripe it, and say, like a no parking zone.
Well, the whole thing is the no parking zone, so I think a couple signs is
Clear,
probably easy.
yeah.
I didn't understand something that you said though, about, you were talking about the trees and landscaping. What change, what are they not doing now that you were requesting that you'd like for them to do?
So if they were to make the lanes less, that opens up opportunity to have green space on either side of the road, to have street trees line the road instead of having extra pavement. So you gain like 8.
Is there 10 foot of green space here, Dan? Back of curb to right away?
In total, you have 5.
Looks like we got 2 or 3.
Feet of green space, but it's because of the 50-foot, can't have sidewalk hanging right on the property line.
Right.
So it is pinched in, so there's like, basically it's 3 and 2. You still have your total 5, but it's how it's diced up makes it hard for.
So Kayla, you're really talking about 2 trees on the west end over here?
I mean,
Are those, I'm sorry, these along this narrow 50-foot section?
yeah, getting trees along there.
Right now.
And that wasn't originally discussed because.
And we've been at this for 2 years, so I mean, it's been a long time coming. We're ready to get this one behind us.
And are they meeting the green space requirements in every other way?
Subdivisions don't technically have
Are
green
not.
space requirements per se. They have what green space is called for a local street section. But local street sections don't allow for street trees. So really the argument is, do we get street trees along Tower Park or do we not?
We're kind of exceeding it in a way because we're doing the medians in the
Very true.
beginning. So we're actually exceeding what the requirements were.
And that does help. That was a recent addition, is the trees. in the
I
median.
think that's awesome.
That's a recent addition as well.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't see the gain in changing. Especially at the latest hour here. I don't,
You get a smaller road with street trees.
yeah, I'd rather have a wider road myself.
Okay.
Would it be a collector?
Would it have been a collector?
Ironically,
I'd rather have the asphalt than the grass.
it would have been cheaper on us to begin with, had we done that, no problem, but now at this point, it's more costly.
Yeah, we really.
Yeah, it costs you more than asphalt now.
Have
I mean-
developers up here asking to do the bigger road section.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. We're just.
It's gonna cost them more to build a wider road.
So on the north side on Spire Lane. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, on Spire Lane. What's up with the sidewalk on the other side of the road?
So they've got the sidewalk on the side that won't be developed right now. The side that doesn't have the sidewalk is adjacent to a lot that they'll develop in the future. So we don't wanna build a sidewalk, they're gonna have to break.
That would be part of our large scale.
Yes.
Multifamily.
I'm talking about the entire length of that road. The commercial's up front, right?
Yeah, it's a stub out up there.
So what about past the commercial area?
That's the multi-family right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's multi.
Sorry, ours were zoomed in. I don't
It's
have
kind of
it.
zoomed, it's hard to tell.
Oh, I see now.
Yeah, that's the better.
Yeah, it's multifamily, then commercial, and another multifamily down here. That will come in phase 2.
Yeah. I think you could still build some of it, but okay.
This development pretty much is picture perfect for your land use development plan of what you've got.
But we're past that point.
Yeah. We designed it around you guys' plan there.
Trying to give us like.
I just want to throw that in there.
That's too soon, man. It's too soon.
That was too soon.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I think there's an ask to, if it gets approved, to be contingent upon outstanding comments.
Yeah, there was one other discussion item about having additional landscaping around the pond. You guys want to require? We don't have a landscape code.
And can y'all add a couple things in there?
On that?
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to keep and maintain properly if we can mow all that. And keep our landscaping budget in the front here on all those medians and all of that, keeping those trees looking good and mulched and the plants that are gonna be going in there. And then be able to keep that dry pond mowed effectively, and I mean, we just.
What about just some street trees along the frontage of that pond?
We can,
Overlook, then up north, and then just around that corner.
like how, we're willing to. Whatever you think would. How many do you think would suffice?
What do we ask for? 20,
One per 25 feet normally.
1 per 25. I don't know the linear footage, but. And you can group them too, so you don't have to mow around every single one, yeah?
Do a little patch of them or something. Okay. That works for me.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
I know we can't require it, but can we put in there that, or we just have a gentleman's agreement on the no parking signs?
Well, they're getting it, the no parking.
No,
signs?
that'll be in the outstanding subcon.
That's a requirement based on not.
That's a
changing
requirement.
Right. We do no parking.
I wasn't sure if we could include that or.
Don't trust them?
I got you, man. I do. What should I do?
This ain't golf. We don't have
Alright.
agreements.
Well, I didn't know how.
Picking it up.
Put that in there or not, so.
Sure. All right, who's making this motion?
I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 23-13 Tower Park with staff comments
In the adjacent street agreement.
in the adjacent street agreement. Yes, that's correct.
Second.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
No other business. Next council meeting, 12/10. Planning Commission on December 3rd, review on December 19th. Any other staff comments?
Kayla, Sarah, and Lori will be at the ULI Play Summit in
Yeah, Bentonville.
Bentonville. And also
Be there.
on Thursday afternoon is when we're doing our workshop for the kickoff for our golf meeting grant.
From 2 to 5.
2 to 5.
I'll see you there, right?
Yeah, right?
The ULI thing was.
Wednesday, Thursday.
I'm
workshop
going Thursday. I'm going.
We have a workshop on Thursday.
Yes.
All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank y'all.
Yeehaw.
Joey, thank you, man. Thanks for the.
It's tough. It's tough.
Hey, I hope it was okay.